folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. So this video is simply a recap video on the meeting that we had yesterday here locally. We have monthly meetings, and I usually try to make a video just kind of recapping what happened, giving you folks an update in the YouTube world. I will be making and releasing a video this afternoon, so I'll be doing two today. The one this afternoon is on, well, the FDA announcement and some of the things surrounding that today. So stay tuned for that one here in a few hours. So for those of you that maybe aren't aware, many of you are because I talk about it, we hold monthly meetings here in the Ozarks. And there's other meetings, I guess, around the Ozarks, but we hold one here. And people from all over the Ozarks come. In fact, people from all over the country came. Every meeting we've had, there have been people out of state. And this one, we had people from California, from Oregon, from Montana, from Rhode Island, from Illinois, all over that also came to the meeting because they realized that the world we're in is changing, and it's changing rapidly and not really in the good direction. So they're trying to reach out to others and try to make connections, because that's really what these meetings are about, is about building community, building a network of like-minded individuals. Yes, we have classes that we learn specific things, but overall, the main focus is to build a network of communities. I like to call this meeting a community of communities. And we're well on our way to doing that. We, at the end of me talking right now, I'm going to play a little clip of me talking at the meeting about that. Now, unfortunately, the video was kind of messed up. The camera got turned, and so you were seeing like a wall and a ceiling. So all you're going to hear is the audio with a little video screensaver being played. We had this time we had a guy talking about gold and silver, not just investing or stacking it, but really how to use it as a form of commerce again. As a whereas it once was. This was something that humans have done since, well, forever, of using gold and silver as money that it actually is. And so we talked about that, of using that in a community and using it on a state level. So not just bartering and trading, but actually using real money to trade with. We also talked about, we had a lady there that was a kind of an expert in self-defense. And so she gave some little tips and pointers on, well, all the stuff that's going on. There's a lot of violence. We're seeing it more and more. And so what do you do? Many people that come to the meeting have probably some level of training, but not everyone. And so she presented some simple basic things that you can do to, if you find yourself in the midst of a angry crowd or someone that's trying to do harm to you, some tips that you can use to get away from them or to defend yourself. And then I spoke on the meeting. I spoke about the group as a whole of what we're doing and what our plans are. And I also talked about our seed bank. We do have an active working seed bank and seed sharing bank. And so we had put together quite a few seeds that had been donated and had them there for the group that they could take home. And then, of course, we're encouraging them to contribute back to the seed bank, so it's just continually gets replenished. Probably wanting to know how big it was. I think I have an image here. When I took this, it wasn't completely packed. And don't worry, if anyone that was there watching, I've blurred all the faces so no one can see anyone's faces. We had what we believe is approximately 300 people in attendance. Maybe not all at one time, because we had some people that had to leave early. Then we had a little influx of people coming in about an hour later. They had to travel further. They may have had to attend church services that morning. And so all in all, we believe there was probably around 300 people there, especially based on the seating. We were at max capacity on the seating, and people were standing around, sitting on the floor. And then, of course, there was children, and then there was people in the kitchen constantly working. For the first time, we pretty much ran out of food. And there was a lot of food that was brought in between my wife and myself, and then other people that came in and donated, and we pretty much cleaned it out, which is not a bad thing. My wife said they lost track of how many gallons of tea that was made, and she said it was a lot, probably 2 or 3 dozen gallons of tea. The negative to the meeting, I'll go ahead and address that. It was pretty hot yesterday, and because we had so many people in the building, it kind of put it gave a good workout on the air conditioner, and so it was kind of struggling to keep up. So it kind of got a little warm in there, but most people, I really didn't hear any complaints. People were fanning themselves, and I apologized, but that's just how those things go. The biggest point is that myself, many others, we were able to make so many connections, meet so many wonderful people at this meeting. Many of them, of course, were regulars that have been attending these meetings, and we were able to further make connections. Many of us are continuing these conversations between meetings. So it's not just that we're talking with each other and planning at the meeting. We're talking outside the meeting. We're making phone calls. We're meeting each other. My wife and I have already, we're planning on over the next 2 or 3 weeks meeting with several different people. We've been invited into their home and having smaller get-togethers where we can plan. This is what this is about. And what you might ask, well, what are you planning? We're planning on and figuring out ways to develop a kind of sub-community here in the Ozarks where people of like mind have a means to communicate amongst themselves. People of like minds have a way to help each other. I had people come up to me of different skill sets, say, hey, I'm a welder, I'm a carpenter, I'm a computer programmer, I'm a jack of all trades. And I want to help, so if there are people in this group that need help with their homestead or whatever, give them my number and I can come over and help them. We're planning on doing work days where we find out members of our community that have a need, and we'll set up work days that as many people can show up at this person's farm, and we're going to build this or fix this. And then we're also talking about developing a more robust bartering system. Already we have a table set up that people can bring any goods that are just kind of giveaways. Too many vegetables of one particular type, or maybe some books or pamphlets or anything that you just are willing to share with the community, along with our seed bank. And then there's been talks of developing and setting up a type of farmers market swap meet amongst people, and then how to develop the networks of trade, and then also, because the Ozarks is pretty good size, about the same size of the state of New York, of developing certain points within the Ozarks where people could congregate, or areas that are closer to them to utilize for safety. And again, this is it's a developing thing, but what is going on here is really good. And we're also trying to figure out ways that we can encourage this happening elsewhere. There's already 2 or 3 people here in the Ozarks that are working on setting up meetings that are further away, so it's not just in one place. And we're reaching out to other groups that may already be having meetings in their area so that we can make connection, build bridges with them. It's really exciting to see. It's exciting to meet with these people, talk with them from all over the country. Some people are moving here. Some people just came so that they can get this information and take it back to their area. It was quite exciting to see. And although I am completely wore out because we were there about 13 hours yesterday between the setup, the meeting, and the cleanup, it was well worth what happened. So if you have any questions, certainly email me. I am working on coming up with maybe 2 or 3 different videos for those of you in your area that want to try to replicate this, kind of things that worked for us and things that didn't work for us. We didn't start off having 300 people at our meetings. In fact, the first meeting that I had here over a year ago, 2 people showed up. So it's something that it takes a while to kind of figure out and work out all the kinks and wrinkles. And so I would love to be able to help you do that in your area and promote your meeting. You know, I've said it before, if you're planning some type of meeting of preparedness and homesteading, let me know and I'll promote it here on the channel. And I do have a few that I'll be promoting this week. So without further ado, here's me rambling about some of the stuff that we talked about yesterday at the meeting. It's 15 minutes or so long. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but it's just, I put it out here so that you can get an idea of kind of what goes on at our meeting. You can hear all kinds of people in the background talking because there's 300 people there, and a lot of kids, and it I think it's a good thing. It was just a really big fellowship. All right, folks. Thank you for watching, and check out this little clip from what happened yesterday at the meeting. We're trying to make some changes here. Not changes, but do things differently here in the Ozarks, and hoping that in other parts of the country that people will do the same thing. We're trying to actually build the old-fashioned community. What we're trying to do here is not something new. It's not some radically new idea. This is something that human beings have been doing for ages. We, get to know each other. We help each other out. Someone's building a barn. We all go to a work day. We go over and we help them. Things get rough. One farm, their crops got hit really bad with storms, so everyone else kind of pitches in and kind of helps them out. And here, I'll give you some of my extra. That's really the basis of what we're doing. Because I believe if we do that, when things get bad, whether it's physically defending our farms, our homes, our families, or bartering, or living in a world outside of society, whatever it is, we've already got the foundations for that community. And fortunately for us, as opposed to our ancestors, we have ways to communicate. So back in the old days, their radius of communication with most people was maybe 10 miles, really. They really didn't go beyond that. 10 miles on a horse or 10 miles on a wagon was a long trip. Well, nowadays we communicate with people all over the country, all over the world. And so while we may not be able to physically trade with them, we can sure build community and connection. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to do here. On top of that, some of the things we're trying to do here is what I've written down here. So I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of kind of where we're going here. If some of you are familiar with the term MAG, Mutual Assistance Group, it's a common prepper terminology. It usually refers to 4 or 5 people, maybe 7 or 10 people in a small group that kind of work together, prepare together, that kind of stuff. And they have a purpose. That's not what's here, because obviously there's a lot of people. And you guys are from all over the Ozarks, all over the state, all over the United States. We have people from the East Coast, and we have people from the West Coast somewhere right here. And in between. California all the way to Rhode Island. And in between. And so what we'd love to see, and it does happen, there are some groups here already that are starting to form, where you go back to your area and you try to replicate this on a smaller scale, or build some type of mutual assistance group or a little community in your area. So at the end of this, when I get done talking, I'm going to take just a moment for anyone. I understand, you're in a group of people you don't know, so you don't want to give them all your information. That's okay, I don't either. There's very few people in this room that I have told where I live. Doesn't mean I don't trust you, I just don't know you. No offense. So I get it. But for those of you that want to reach out to potentially others in your area, when I get done here, and I know 2 already want to do this, raise your hand, stand up so everyone can see you. Say, I'm so-and-so, and I live in this area. You don't have to tell them your address. Just, I live in this area. And if you live in this area and you want to talk to me afterwards, and so we can kind of do that. Make it quick, stand up so everyone can see you, and we'll do that here after a few minutes, which is another way. All right. I want to run through some of this. Okay, I've covered the first three, and then I covered that one. All right, here we go. Along with that, and I mentioned the having meetings, or having some of you speaking at one of these. So if you have skills, interests, experience, or whatever that you would like to share with the community, up here, let me know. If you also have skills with things that you would like to share with the community in the way of helping them, let me know. Maybe you're a carpenter, or you're a mechanic, or you're a welder, or you're just a jack of all trades and you just like to help people. I'm little by little starting to hear about people that, they're struggling, they're trying to do this. Maybe they're sick, maybe they're, injured, maybe they're elderly, whatever it is. That's part of what we're doing, is to reach out to each other with the hopes of trying to build it to the point that if someone, lets us know, hey, I'm doing this, or, I fell and broke my leg, or whatever it is, then we can just send out an email and say, okay, we're going to meet over there at such and such date and time and help them with something, or whatever it is. And so if you have a skill to share in that way, or you're just willing to help people, get a hold of me, because I'm already finding out about people here in our area. And when I say our area, not necessarily meaning Texas County or in the area of this building, I'm kind of referring to kind of the south central Ozarks. But certainly it can go beyond that. So, again, let me know if you'd like to help out with just when people are in need. And I think that's something we should do. All right. Already covered that. All right. Now, another thing that I'm looking for with the people that are regulars, or that intend upon being regulars as much as you can, because we have this on a monthly basis. As you can tell, it's a good-sized crowd. Usually we've had between 75 and 100 or so people. We have people helping. My wife tends to take care of coordinating all the food, kitchen, that kind of stuff. And there's some ladies that's helped her, a few guys. It would be nice if we had some people that were, and there are a couple already, but people that commit to saying, okay, I'm either going to help with that, or I'm going to help find people to help with that. Because that's a lot. Making enough iced tea. My wife said, I don't know how many gallons of iced tea we've gone through today. It's a lot. And just to kind of help, help in the kitchen, that kind of stuff, taking trash out. If anyone would like to, that's a regular, intends on being a regular, would like to kind of help with the kids. I know we have older teenagers, and that's fine. My wife and I was talking, she would like to at some point work with some of you ladies, whether you're homeschoolers or not, and kind of create our own little, kids play date and homeschool group in this area. I know there are homeschool groups. We are involved in a homeschool group, but I think, prepper kind of homestead people, it's okay for us to do that, have a play date. Come to a park like here. There's a little park out here, or wherever there's, Ava or Houston. All these little towns have parks. Some have some really, neat little parks. And we like to go to the one in Houston. It's got that creek that runs through the park. Kids like to play in that. And, have a play day. So the point is that we're becoming an actual community by doing this kind of stuff. So if there are any of you that are interested in that, you can speak with my wife or myself, because that's something that we're wanting to work on. I mentioned the seed bank, something else that's been talked about. And if there are people here that have knowledge on this, that would like to be involved of creating a radio communication network, and actually looking into a building, possibly erecting a amateur radio repeater, maybe two. They don't have to be that elaborate. You can actually put together a repeater for relatively low cost. And so creating a network, establishing certain bands, ham radio bands or frequencies that we could, pass out as a list that these are frequencies that we use. For those of you that are ham radio users, if you don't have one or you don't have a license, I strongly encourage you to look into that. We have talked about that. I talked about that a few months ago. I gave a little presentation on beginning amateur radio. It's not difficult to get a license, to get the basic technician license. With that basic license, you can communicate in the Ozarks. Okay? Pretty much. With the basic technician license, hold on just a second, Tracy. You can communicate easily in a 50 to say 75 mile radius. Depending on the terrain, depending on the equipment, depending on the repeater, I get that. But with a basic license, you should easily be able to do that. And it not cost that much. You can buy a decent radio, get into it for 200, 250 or less. Yeah, raise your hand if you're a ham radio operator. I am. Anyone else? Yeah. I'm not an active user. One over here, one over here. Some people are the hobbyist kind where they're just on it all the time. I used to be years ago when I first got into it. Now it's there. Occasionally I turn it on and listen to it, but it's just there, but it's there for a reason. All right, so that's something that we're working on. Anyone that would like to be involved in that, let me know. All right, how to communicate other than that way. So on the channel, I've set up some different ways that people can communicate, and of course this is anyone that watches, gets on, but there's ways to make it just for our group. I have an email list that I've set up, and I'm testing it out. It is much like, how many of you remember Yahoo groups? Okay, where you'd send an email to it and everyone in the group gets an email. That no longer exists. But I did find a service that provides pretty much the same thing, and I've set it up. If anyone would be interested in that, I kind of thought of that as more of like a emergency way to communicate and specific needs or something, because if it was just chatter, that could be a lot of emails that you're reading through. Then we also have a Telegram group, and that has been improving and growing. Telegram, if you're not familiar, it's just kind of like a little chat group. You can get downloaded on your smartphone. It's fairly secure. I understand it's not the best, maybe it is, but nothing is secure. I get people all the time, oh, that service, it's not secure. Nothing is secure online. Trust me. I have been in the homes of people that worked in levels of government that I assure you know that nothing online is secure. Period. And if you don't believe me, you mentioned earlier, Patrick, they were talking about Bitcoin. What's the one thing about Bitcoin that you've heard over the last 10 years? It's how secure it is. And in the last month, there's been 2 cases that we know of where millions and millions of dollars were stolen, hacked, and stolen from Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So I assure you, nothing online is secure. You just don't talk about things you don't want anyone to know about. It's just, it's just that. And then the last one, and so on the Telegram, it grew really fast. If those of you that are in it or haven't been in it, it grew really fast. And honestly, I don't particularly like that style of communication, so I wasn't really in there that much, and it kind of got out of control. And so my wife and Terry Lynn are trying to get in there and kind of manage it and moderate it. There's almost 800 people in it, and there actually is some pretty good information being shared in there, and I'm going to start working on making some extra groups in there, one just for natural health and different things like that. And people are really sharing some good information. I'm kind of proud of the people that are in there. You go to the Telegram group, and it's better than the news. There's things that they're posting in there just sometimes moments after it happens. The other way that we can communicate is an old style forum, like the PHP forums. I have one of those. Gary back here is kind of the guy that's the ringleader in that one. I pipe it, jump in there every once in a while, but it's a slower paced way to communicate. There's different categories, but I have it set up. If we want to, I can create a separate subgroup just for our people, just for the people that come to this meeting. We can communicate that way. So I'm trying to develop different ways to communicate. Email, internet, chatting, radio, so that we have all these different ways as a group. Because if we don't have ways to communicate, especially when things get bad, then what's the point of having a group? So we're thinking ahead and trying to do that. And if anyone that has any kind of expertise in whether it's ham radio or computers or something and may have an idea that would like to jump in, if you suggest an idea, be ready for me to say, good, then why don't you head that up? Okay? I'm not complaining.